You're about to learn everything you need to know about transforming data in Power BI. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. For now, I'm starting with a relatively blank Power BI. I've already added a couple things here on the right side, the customer data in sheet 1. But if you need to add whatever data you need, you can either go to Get Data here or click on any of the things here. For this example, since I've already imported the data, I'm just going to go over to my data source, right-click, and hit Edit Query. So when you hop into Power Query, once you've added your data, it should look something like mine. There are a few things I do that help me get a better sense of the type of data I'm working with. So if you go up here to the View tab, you can hit on Column Distribution and Column Quality. This helps you see how many empties, how many errors if you have any, and how many duplicates you might have. Now let's go back to the Home tab and check out a couple options that we have here. Things that can be very helpful for me, especially if I'm working with a really large data set, is choose columns. So there's two ways that you can use this. If you hit the drop down here, you have choose columns, which will filter out any columns I don't want. So for this example, if I don't care about postal code, country, or state, I can hit OK, and you can see that it automatically filters out those things. If I want to undo that, I can hit choose columns again and add them, or I can hit the X here for the applied steps on the right side. And we're back to what we had. Another thing that I use a lot is go to column. So if I have a lot of data, meaning a lot of columns in a data set, and I want to find something, I can just type something like city, it'll search for it, I can click on it and hit OK, and it'll take me right there. Now, since I have a small data set, you can't see it, but it saves you a lot of scrolling for bigger data sets. Removing columns are similar to choosing columns, except it's deleting it altogether. Now, you can also have this option where you remove other columns. So if I have customer key and I'm holding control and hitting customer ID, I can hit remove other columns. It'll remove everything else except for those two. But for now, we still want all the other data here. The other things you can do are keep rows and remove rows. So these are both very helpful. So keep rows works just like you would expect it in terms of only keeping the top things. So if I want to keep the top 5 rows, it'll do that. Likewise, if I want to remove the top rows, so for this example, I actually want to get rid of the non-applicable portion, I'm just going to say the top 1 row and hit OK. There we go. Likewise, you can keep duplicates, errors, and remove duplicates, blank rows, and errors. So this helps you to either find or remove any duplicates you might have. An example here is on city, you can see that we have 212 distinct, 33 unique values. And here automatically Power BI gives us the option to remove duplicates. But if I click on city here, right click and say keep duplicates, it'll show me every option that has duplicates. So you can see here that for city, Wollongong or East Brisbane, but you can see that the customer and customer ID and everything else is different. So it's not truly a duplicate, but it's saying that for just this column, those are duplicates there. Now, that's all we have in terms of managing columns and rows. Let's look at actually transforming the data. So we actually want to go up here to the Transform tab and click, and we see a lot of different options here. So first off, we have Group By. So for this example, I've already highlighted city, and I'm going to group by city, and I want to count distinct rows for each city. So just see, okay, how many rows are attributed to each city? I can hit OK, and then it'll break it down by city for me, which is super nice. You can also do this in DAX, but I find sometimes it's easier to duplicate a data set in Power Query and just have it there super easy to use. Sometimes when you're loading a data set, Power BI doesn't always get the column headers right. So for this example, I'm actually going to show you the first part, which is using headers as the first row. So you can see here, customer key, customer ID, etc. has moved down, and right now it just says column 1, column 2, column 3, etc. Sometimes you'll see that happen when you load data, but that's okay. You can just hit used first row as headers, and it'll automatically populate. I'm just going to undo the things I've done here. So we get back, we demoted, and then promoted again. But we're back to where we started. The other options you have on the table section are transpose, reverse rows, and count rows. Reverse rows works exactly how you expect it would. So if here where customer key is that, we can reverse. So for example, say you have something like a ledger with a lot of data and you want to just filter it by the most recent stuff, you can reverse rows quickly just for your sake so you can see what's going on. Likewise, we can count the rows and it'll give you a total count right there automatically. Now let's try transposing. So I'm actually going to switch to my sheet 1 data to kind of give you guys a better idea. So say I wanted all of this information flipped. I'm going to hit transpose, and you can see now that I have everything exactly the way it was before. If I hit transpose again, it'll go back to the way it was. So that's everything from the table section. Now let's look at the any column section. Now with Power BI almost always detects data types automatically, but sometimes they don't always get it right. So date, for example, sometimes can be detected as text. If you have any blanks in there, sometimes it says, hey, okay, well, we thought this was date, but we're not sure. And that can affect your DAX measures and some other things when you're messing around with visuals. So sometimes you need to come into Power Query and specify to Power BI saying, hey, no, this is actually a date. So if I wanted to change that, I would just go to data type and I would say whatever I want. So for example, if this date field was a text and say, are you sure about that? Like, okay, we're going to make it text. Likewise, the text data type can happen, but almost always Power BI does it automatically. Very rarely do I ever have to worry about that. Rename works exactly the way you think it would in terms of renaming the column name. So if I wanted to say super date, I could. Replace values is super handy. So if I want to go in here and replace anything that says Richard and change it to Alex, I can hit OK, and it'll automatically change that. Now, you can see here that I have a ton of blanks after Alex and Stacy. So in this instance, I actually want to fill all of these with Alex and all of these with Stacy. So this is what the fill function does here. So I can hit fill down, and automatically you can see it goes all the way until Stacy and then fills it with Stacy going down, which I absolutely love this function. I've used it so many times. It has saved my butt. Likewise, you can also fill up. So you can see here, it's all nulls because the bottom one goes up. And then when it goes to Stacy, it goes all the way until Alex. But for this example, we actually want to fill down. Now I want to pivot it by the name. So I can hit pivot column here. My values column is going to be amount. And because I've selected name, it's automatically going to pivot by the name. So if I hit OK, we can see it pivots by Alex and Stacy. But because I have my group thing and super date, it's not super helpful. So let's back out. We'll actually go and remove super date and group thing. Again, I'm holding control to select multiple columns, right clicking and hitting remove columns. Now I'm going to hit name, pivot column. My values column is amount, hit OK. And then I have Alex as his own column and Stacy as its own column. If I highlight Alex and Stacy and hit unpivot, it'll undo everything, but it'll rename it attribute and value. So some situations you might need to pivot, some situations you might need to unpivot. Either way, they can both be very helpful. So if we go back, what if we want to move columns? Well, it's pretty straightforward. I hit super date, hit move, and I want to either the beginning, the end, the left, to the right. Pretty straightforward. Likewise, you can select a column and convert it to a list, which should help for distinct values or if you want to flatten a set of data. Now let's look at the good stuff, the text column. This is going to help you a lot with cleaning up messy data, anything like that. So an example I have here is this group thing where I just created a 6-digit ID or 6-character ID with a dash and then a number. Now, I have plenty of different ways that I can go about it. If I want to select it and hit split column, I can split it by delimiter, which is very similar to text to columns in Excel, if you're familiar with that. So for this example, I'm selecting this dash, and I just want to do, I can do leftmost, rightmost, or each occurrence of the delimiter. In this example, I only have one dash for every piece of data, so I don't necessarily need to worry about just doing the leftmost or rightmost delimiter. Go ahead and hit OK. And you can see that I have groupthing.1 and groupthing.2, and that it got rid of the delimiter altogether and gave me the 6 characters and then split by the numbers on the right-hand side. Likewise, I can split column by number of characters. So if I just want to do the first 6 characters, I can hit OK. And you can see the same thing here. But we kept the dash, and so now it looks like I'm saying negative for all the group things. But there are other ways you can split the column by positions. So if I want to say at positions 0, 6, and 3, go ahead and hit OK. And you can see it does from 0 to 3, 3 to 6, and then 6 onward. Or if you need lowercase to uppercase, uppercase to lowercase, digit to non-digit, non-digit to digit. So for this example, if we want to say non-digit to digit, you can see that it does the 3 letters I have, ZZZ, to the number, and then another jump in the number because it counts the dash as a non-digit. If I wanted to do the same thing, but just keep it in a single one and get rid of everything else, I could hit extract instead of split column. So if I only want the first 3 characters, I can hit OK, and it'll do that. Or if I want the last 4 characters, I can do that. You can do the same thing with a delimiter, before, after, between, the range. It's super helpful. So I really love the flexibility that you get there. Likewise, there's also a format. So if we go to the names here, if I want to format all lowercase, I can. If I want to do all uppercase, likewise. If I want to do all uppercase. If I want to trim, meaning get rid of any empty spaces, or clean, which is getting rid of any non-printable characters, I can. Or if I want to add a prefix or suffix. So if I want everyone to be whatever their name is, the third, I can. So Alex the third, Stacy the third. So number columns are pretty straightforward. If there's quick math that you need to do, or you want to just get a quick sense of your data, it's a great way to do that. So statistics will do sums. They'll tell you the total sum of a field. Make sure you have it highlighted. They also have maximum, average, and, counting distinct values. Stuff like that. All of that will help you. You could also do basic math if you wanted to add, multiply, subtract, divide, and some other basic things. So if I want to multiply every number here times 3, I can. And it just happens. Likewise, I can do the same thing, adding, subtracting, dividing, or percentages. So if I want to find out the percentage of 10,000, I can hit OK. And everything is now factored as a percentage. Likewise, with scientific, you can do all of those things. You can add trigonometry if you want to get fancy with sine and cosine. Or if you just want to round everything, you can round it up, down, or specify how many decimal places you want to round it to. For this example, I don't have any decimals, but you get the point. For information, you can do checks of, is it even? Is it odd? Does it have a negative sign or not? And it will change things into true or false. So is even, you can see here it says true or false. Last but not least, we have our date functions. We can go here, hit age, date only, year, month, quarter, week, day. So it could be as simple as figuring, okay, when is the earliest date? Or you can just say, I want to see every date be the start of that year. So you can see everything automatically goes to 1/1. Or if I want to see what quarter it's in, quarter of year, you can see it's all in quarter 2. If this helped you on your data transformation journey, please drop a like or subscribe, and feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. I'll try to get to you as soon as I can. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. See ya.